All right, everyone, it's finally happened to me. It's taken about 5 years, but we finally made it to this point. I've played the dumbest game of War Thunder I think I've ever played. And it happened on the most unlikely map, driving the most unlikely vehicle. Hey YouTube, what's up? Ronick here. Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to War Thunder. And in today's video, you heard me right. It's the dumbest game I've ever played, where we somehow achieve a nuke without ever leaving our spawn. Let's get to the match.
Hand me the binoculars, Private.
I made the mistake of playing this match while I was not actively recording. I know, rookie mistake, so you have to bear with me as the match is filmed in the replay viewer. All right, well, I know some of you are probably going to get really upset by looking at what I'm about to do, but on the Normandy map, you can actually see into each spawn when you leave, which is what I'm doing here. You can kind of get a little snippet of the road that leads out of the spawn in E2. Missed the first shot. I kind of roughly know the range based on the amount of times I've played this map. It's about 1,000. And then there we go. We just shoot through our ally, but somehow still managed to get a ricochet on that XM. And there, we're able to eliminate that XM803 no problem because he just sat there. But if you spawn on the other side of this map, you can shoot over here with a range of about 1,000, and you can pick people off going down the hill towards, what is that, like D5? Still trying to just engage some dudes. Waiting for this XM to show himself a little bit more.
Show yourself, coward.
Just similarly to like the game where we're in the Raketten, like map control doesn't matter here. It's all about the kills and the time and the base cap. But even though we've been sitting here for a few minutes, I can still see that my team hasn't really pushed out and gained too much map control. So it doesn't make sense for me in this slow ridgeline behemoth to push out. We were able to get that BMP by coming up the middle. But just kind of giving on where my teammates are, I think it's fairly obvious that we can probably expect to just be pressured most of this game. So I'm perfectly fine with playing it cool, sitting back here. Hey, gun spotted? There he is. Easy money. I'm glad we were finally able to take that XM out. I feel like that was like the third time we've hit him. I really enjoy this tank. I mean, at 8.3, what you make up for in lack of mobility and survivability, because you're a Centurion, essentially, this dart is just bananas if you can get a good matchup. So even though we're early on the match, I've pretty much decided that I think I'm just going to try and cover the field, use my good gun depression to hide behind this ridgeline here. I'm hoping that given the road and the open terrain, we can defend the south with less tanks. Therefore, the bulk of my team can continue fighting in the town. During our observations, we're able to spot an enemy tank out there on their side past the windmill in like the G2, F2 area. And we're a little fortunate that he leaves himself just exposed enough to where we can take a shot and we get a nice kill on a ZTZ-59. And then shortly thereafter, we're able to spot this M60 trying to sneak up through the middle ridgeline area, and we're able to take him out as well. You know, one of the things that I kind of grappled in this game was like, you know, am I hindering my team by staying in my spawn the whole game? And I know some of you will probably say yes, but just given the fact that our teammates that went field from the very outset, they all died very quickly. So just based on how this map is designed, like we're on some high ground that overlooks low ground that the enemy has to cross to attack our base. So although our spawn is in the same location, like in my opinion, tactically, like this is the best position to defend the southern flank of our base cap. So it's not like this position doesn't hold any tactical or strategic importance as well. But I think it does, even though our spawn is in the same location. Instead of me just telling you it's a good spot, let's examine it from a defensive perspective outlined by Army Field Manual 390. And before one of you has a stroke, yes, it's declassified and has been approved for release since May of 2023. Go check it out for yourself. Outlined in Chapter 8, it states multiple purposes for the defense, two of which are countering the enemy's action and then retaining decisive terrain and/or denying the enemy vital terrain. In terms of this map and my current position, the enemy's action will be to capture my base. Therefore, how do I counter that? The vital terrain the enemy wants is my base, so I must deny him that. Characteristics of good defensible terrain is described as locations with unavoidable ridges and roads in which the enemy must use, preventing his ability to mask movement. A location with concealed reinforcement routes for the defense to prevent the enemy from learning which area receives reinforcements faster. And lastly, a location on high ground with good observation and fields of fire. For my location, should the enemy approach from the south, they must do so exposed over a ridge and across a field, or down a large road with no cover. Should I die and respawn, or a teammate respawn, we can maneuver safely along the backside of this ridge to hopefully surprise the advancing enemy, and we can pop up from unknown locations. And lastly, we have long fields of view which can directly deny the enemy base, especially this intersection and this road that looks down into the town. So at a fundamental level, this position checks boxes that other available positions wouldn't. Now, if the game mode required map control, all of this will be null and void, but since map control doesn't matter, and only one specific point on the map does, we can stay here and we can play the long game. And all of that's before we take into account for the fact that I'm in a tank that's built for a ridgeline. Decent turret armor, good gun depression, and a killer round.
Hold on to your butts.
We fast forwarded to just before the 8-minute mark in the match here, and we have finally identified ourselves another target, which happens to be a Sprute all the way over there. And we're able to take him out, no problem. We get really lucky right here. I don't see the tank in the low ground on the road. He somehow fluffs his shot against us, and then we're able to put a round right through his turret there, where it kind of starts to flatten out around the gun mantlet, but we don't hit the gun mantlet, thankfully, directly. But it kind of just enlightened me to the fact that the enemy is now on our cap circle. I was too busy looking out in the field to realize that most of our teammates died in the town, so the enemy's going to have an open road to the cap. And right on cue, here comes the enemy helicopter to spoil all the fun with their ATGMs. Thankfully, we only lose a crew member and some modules, and we don't get killed outright, because that would be such a sad way for this story to end. And he's constantly just dodging the rounds from our anti-air guns because they're firing at such a long distance. That guy's got acres of time to try and dodge. But what's really beneficial here is that because he's having to maneuver so violently and so frequently, is that he can't get another shot on us, which is going to allow us to repair and stay alive. He's come back. He's firing more missiles. He's probably trying to take out our anti-air, because that's like the one thing that if he takes it out, then he'll have free reign of the sky, because our helicopters and our G91 crashed. And the helicopter was just finally taken out by the J-29A, which is fantastic. We have some additional customers deciding to try and come up and contest our cap. A nice VBC PT2. Any chance we can kill a light tank without being detected here is awesome, because if we get scouted, then the remaining enemies on the map are probably going to focus us, just because who doesn't want to focus something that's already scouted? Now, my teammates here are rushing to try and capture the base back. And I understand wanting to secure the base, but just because you don't have your base on this game mode doesn't mean you constantly lose tickets. Now, if you do capture the base back, then the enemy has to basically spend twice as long decapping it and recapping it, versus capturing a neutral base you only have to spend half the amount of time in. We got an XM803 coming up here. We're going to try and get a nice shot on, because I think the enemy will get the little notification that our base is being recapped. Man, sometimes I hate XM803s, dude. They just refuse to die. But I'm going to back up. I don't want him to know where I am, per se. And I'm going to wait until I get a clear shot on him before we truly reveal our position. But like I was saying, the risk that you take with recapping your base in this game mode is, sure, the enemy has to spend twice as long in the cap before they cap it. But the downside is you give them kills, because they're going to know exactly where you are because you're in the cap capping it. So I felt like the time that we'd save, or the time that we would allow ourselves by having the enemy have to cap it for twice as long, versus giving them a couple kills potentially on their side, just doesn't seem worth it, considering how quickly we can respond to the cap circle if need be. So I'm starting to see the writing on the wall here, I think. Every time we don't confirm a kill, it just allows another player to store in their memory bank where we are. And now, because we lost the crew members from the helicopter, we're going to be sitting here and repairing for an awfully long time. But thankfully, we're able to avoid enemy air power for a little bit longer. And we are able to repair our gun. There's a spotted enemy tank coming up on us. And I think this dude wants blood, as he is coming right at me. But he doesn't have gun depression. He's Russian or Chinese. So we're going to see if he wants to risk it for the biscuit. All right, we got an enemy anti-air gun. Now the risk here is if this enemy is coming for me, he already knows where I am, which is what I assume, which is why I pop up and shoot the M163. Now, if that hostile tank didn't know where I was, or if he wasn't coming for me, I just gave away my position by starting my engine, firing, all that kind of stuff. I don't think this dude initially knew where I was, but he sure as hell does now. It's a T-55 AM1. He pops up. He's able to get the shot on us, unfortunately, and we're not able to land the shot. But 9 kills, 3,000 score. The enemies are right on the cap. I decide to roll out with the backup vehicle here and see if we can't conjure up a few extra points and try and secure that nuke. I think this might be one of those situations where my death might have actually been the best thing that could happen, is because now the enemies aren't focused on me anymore. They believe I died. I don't think they're expecting me to come back in a backup vehicle, let alone probably respawn at all, given how much of a butt kicking my team's getting. Secure the kill on the PGZ-09. Vickers fluffed his shot, unfortunately. But I still think they have, yeah, the T-55, and I think there's one other tank in the cap circle at this point. We're going to try and relocate a little bit because I believe that dude is going to rush me, and I do not want to be in that same spot when he decides to push over the hill again, especially based on what just happened. Now, I'm also hearing a light tank, which I pretty soon identify as an XM800. Now, do I feel confident that I can kill this thing in one shot? Yes, but I only get one shot at this. We try to keep moving our gun, make our gun as hard of a target as it possibly could be. Thankfully, he damages it just enough to where we can pop up, secure the kill, and now we have our nuke. But now the question remains is, can we even get to the battlefield? Because we don't have any air cover. The enemy still has multiple players left, including 3 anti-air guns, even though I did not know that at the time. This is for the benefit of the replay. Now, the cool thing about spawning in the air on this side of Normandy is you're actually on a piece of elevated ground compared to where the tanks are on the map. So if you're low enough to the ground, the enemy players won't be able to detect you or see you because they're going to have to look over a hill, which they obviously can't. So my goal is to stay as low as possible and just pick up my airspeed, pop right over that little hill, and drop the bomb. Now, unfortunately, we do have the nuke sirens going off, so it is what it is. Let's do the best we can. Thankfully, I think I have more than enough time because it's going to take forever for the enemy to cap the base. And we do have like 1 or 2 teammates alive that can pester them while they cap. To my surprise, I didn't see enemy aircraft. I could have sworn that they would have at least 1 or 2 fighters up, or someone would J out to try and hunt me. But that turns out to not be the case. All right, we're about to approach the hill. At this point, I assume I'm visible to enemy radar, so I try to maneuver a little bit. Yeah, we're starting to hear tones, taking shots. Just gonna start flailing all about, make ourselves as hard as possible to hit. But thankfully, we're able to drop the bomb. I kind of drop it a little. I kind of end up throwing it a little bit, but that's totally fine. But we get the nuke nonetheless, and we're going to win this game, even though we were about to lose it in a couple seconds due to an enemy base cap. 11 kills, 3 assists. We died twice. The second death is because we J'd out to get into the nuke. But overall, just a dumb game. Like, I didn't leave my spawn, but yet we somehow get a nuke and win the game. And like I said earlier, on this map, you know, I think the justification is that based on we had no map control in the south, and our spawn / ridgeline area is the highest piece of ground that covers the approaches to our base. It's a defensible position, and it's the smart defensible position. So even though our spawn is there, like, why am I not going to take the best possible defensive position on that side of the map, given the battle state currently? Anyways, I just had to share this match with you guys just because I couldn't believe it. So that's going to do it for the video today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, consider hitting that like button and leaving a comment. If you want to see more videos like this, consider hitting that subscribe button. It really helps the channel out so much. I appreciate your support as always. Stay tuned and see all of you in the next video.